Maybe I'll take it further, maybe not, who knows? Now, long before Orchestral Manoeuvres emerged blinking from the dark in the 80s, guitarist Andy McCluskey, bass player, was an art student destined for Leeds Poly to study alongside Green Gartside of Scritti Politti, Andy Ball of Sossell, maybe Brian Clough, who knows, it's a great school. But it didn't happen because Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark did happen instead. And it's only now, 15 million albums later, that he's back in the gallery with an exhibition of his own paintings by Maurice Wade, whose pictures of post-war industrial landscape around the potteries are as distinctive as Lowry's of Salford, only no matchstalk men or matchstalk cats and dogs. They are unmistakable, Andy, aren't they? And they are haunting, and they are dark, and they are troubling, and you obviously are completely fascinated by them because you've got a huge collection of them.
Yes, I think they must resonate with the darkness within my own soul.
I wasn't going to say anything.
It's all right. I'll say that. No, it's as you said. Yeah, art was my first love. Music was my hobby, and then I took a gap year instead of going to Leeds to take up my place, and that's when the band started, and I never went back. It would have been amazing to be there with Green Gartside and Dave Ball and Mark Armand as well. Yeah, it could have been quite a band we could have put together, but it didn't happen. And I just completely left art to one side, started to do music, but recently started to collect paintings. And Maurice Wade just absolutely resonates with me. These dark, monochromatic, as you rightly say, no people in them, but they have a sort of tranquil melancholy that I adore.
And Lowry was he was writing, he was painting in a world which was industrial. These are post-industrial landscapes, aren't they? And the reason there's no people in them is because you sense that they've kind of been deserted. This is after their usefulness in a way. Yeah,
they were on the cusp. I mean, he was painting from the 60s to 91, and so I think that they were already kind of past their sell-by date. But I think that, he still, I think one of the things I like about Wade is that he doesn't have the sentimentality of the northern artists, capturing sort of, we're all working class, we all had tuberculosis, but it was great. It's just, that's not what he's all about. It's very modern, it's very minimal. Sorry, Nicky, you're cracking up.
It's not. I think it's the fact that you and I have done really bad accents this morning. And where we're from.
Now there's a dare.
I just did mine. Who's next?
And when did you first? Because they are paintings that are loved by the people who know them, but the people who know them are often people who were around the potteries themselves because they belong so much to that place.
Yes, I was just fortunate. I came across one in a gallery, and my initial impression was that it was an abstract because it was just these silhouetted chimneys, and they are largely monochromatic, these paintings. And when you get up close to them, they've got more. And it chimed with me. And when I was younger, my own art was somewhere between sort of industrial. I have a penchant for beam engines. Newcomen is my hero. I don't even know where that comes from. Yeah. But so that sort of industrial machinery and black old industrial landscapes sort of resonate with me. So that's why. But I collected. I've got 21 of these paintings, and I just decided that I was being incredibly selfish because I grew up as a working class kid who had to go to the Walker Art Gallery in Liverpool to see paintings, and if somebody hadn't donated them, or they'd been purchased, or they'd been publicly displayed, I wouldn't have had that inspiration. So I thought it'd be nice to...
we were so lucky when we were being born when we were, that there was enormous public investment in art, and not just in places where, like the National Gallery in London, but regional art galleries, which struggle a bit now, but there's some fantastic ones, thinking Preston, Liverpool, Walsall, all sorts of places in their post-industrial heritage, and proud of what they do.
Yeah. Admittedly, many of those were bequeathed their collections by sort of industrialists who may have been assuaging their guilt, but at least they're there now for public consumption. And I'm a trustee at the museums, and the National Museums Liverpool as well. So my connection there is involved.
So art, music. You mentioned cartilage. Your eyes lit up when you heard George from Anfield. So was football a thing too?
My father was a semi-professional football player, and when he was older than I, he still had incredible skills, and I realised when I was 7 that I had absolutely no aptitude for football, so those dreams were gone. But yeah, I'm a big Liverpool fan. I can remember actually going into a club in Liverpool called the Flying Picket, and this gentleman comes up to me and goes, "All right, Andy, nice to meet you." And I went, I know the voice. Who is this? And then it was George. I was instantly recognised his voice. You know, so it was just as soon as he came on, I went, "That's George again." He is the voice of Anfield. Yeah. It's a remarkable, distinctive voice.
What a great place to be, Liverpool, in the 70s and 80s. So much happening, so much that was original and innovative. New technology came along, the DX7, the keyboard that put synthesizers within reach of boys in back bedrooms.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I mean, our first synthesizer was bought from my mother's mail order catalogue for $7.76 for 36 weeks. we didn't own a synthesizer for the first 6 concerts. We used to borrow them off friends. But yeah, this goes back to 1978. We dared ourselves to go on stage, and
you make it sound haphazard. I don't think this.
Totally.
Well, you say that, but listening to that music, it's very, very accomplished, Andy. The riffs, and also not just the riffs, but the crispness and getting the synth out and how to make it attractive and interesting and pungent. A lot of that music, listen to it, it sounds a bit flat, a bit Chariots of Fire. Do you know what I mean? Bit sort of wee, but your stuff sounds very lively and perky still.
I think, going back to what Marcus was saying about having a desire to be the best you can be, and failure is not an option, and clarity of purpose and vision. I think that's why we distilled our work until it had a strong melody. That nothing was there unless it was relevant and valid.
But also, amazing production values on all those albums.
Thank you. I have to say it was largely intuitive. I mean, we just. I mean, listen, no. So the idea of calling ourselves Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark and playing our type of music was an absolutely ridiculous idea if you actually wanted to make a living out of music. But it was just, we just wanted to play our songs. Our friends didn't particularly like them, and listen, I think we got really lucky, because we gave Tony Wilson, who was off the telly, we gave him a cassette and said, "Can we get on the telly?" Because we met him at our second gig. A week later, his wife gets into the car and there's a bag of cassettes in the footwell. I said, "What are these, love?" "I'm taking them to the tip." She reaches into the bag, the top cassette, Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. Wow, that's unusual. "Oh, they played the club the other week. They're rubbish. I don't like them." She put on Electricity and she went, "That's a hit. Sign them." So we patronisingly tapped her on the leg. Right. Goes, "Yes, dear." So, I mean, there was no master plan, Richard. We got pulled out of the rubbish bag on the way to the tip.
I love that story, and I love the fact that, is it true that Gary Newman's mother ironed your shirts? It's true, right?
No, again, we were invited to support Gary Newman in 1979 on his big tour after 2 number-1 hits, because there was only 2 of us and we fit in front of the curtain behind, where he had his giant stage set behind. And yeah, we had spent, we both bought a shirt and a pair of trousers each, and we were wearing the same ones every night. And when we got to Wolverhampton Civic, his mother said, "Lads, come here, have you got a moment? Can I iron your shirts?" And we were like, "Just don't smell them."
That was thoughtful. I mean, you're very self-deprecating about it, but actually, it's very interesting to what Marcus was saying earlier, is that you can hear in the records what you can taste in your food, and that is that really, really concentrated, diligent attention to detail and constant refinement, getting it right.
And that's why it lasts.
Yeah.
That's why the memory, it's like a good classic dish, a great dish is something that will last forever. And I think if you say to anyone of our age or thereabouts, OMD, we all know what it means. We know what OMD means, and it's brilliant, and that's just a testament to the music.
You also share longevity, don't you? I mean, chefs' careers can be amazingly short, like pop stars' careers, actually, because you can burn bright and burn short, and it's a ruthless economic world. Yeah. And it's the same with bands. But I mean, not only have you, OMD, sort of thrived and prospered, but you were behind Atomic Kitten as well. I mean, you've been very creative.
When I retired myself, I was conceited enough to think that I could still write songs, and I created Atomic Kitten, which was quite a remarkable left turn for me.
One success is pretty unusual, but 2 successes, and then so different, is even more unusual.
Yes, but the art was not a success. So there you go. I was lucky that I went into music.
Didn't you get an E or something for an art exam because you wrote a Dadaist essay? Yeah. I just thought that deserved an A. That age. I
tried to write an essay about Dada in what I thought was a Dada style. was unreadable. I managed to get into art college despite the fact that I got an E. In fact, actually, I must have been quite good at art, because not only did my portfolio get me into Leeds Poly, it got my mate into Nottingham, because he'd done nothing but smoke dope and take magic mushrooms. So I gave him my portfolio and he blagged his way into Nottingham, which he does deserve to do, because they said, who is this bloke in all the photographs? And they said, that's my friend Andy, he's exactly 6 foot tall, he's there for scale.
So careers are made. Yeah. You've got a tour coming up. OMD are taking to the road.
Well, listen, everything's so out of sequence at the moment, Richard. Because of COVID. I mean, I'm trying to organise and get this exhibition on, which I do have to say starts at Trent Art in Newcastle under Lyme on the 25th, and we're also doing a Q&A at Wedgwood Factory, because Wedgwood commissioned Maurice Wade. But in the meantime, I've just got a little thing of 2 concerts to the Royal Albert Hall next week, and then a massive tour in America coming up. So everything's sort of falling into strange places, but it's exciting times.
Well, exciting for all of us. Andy McCluskey, thank you very much. You can catch Maurice Wade, of course, at Trent Art in Newcastle under Lyme, and at the Albert Hall. Those gigs are the 14th and 15th of March.
We have been